Hello everyone, today we're going to take a look at the GnarlyFPV SubAtomic. It's a little hard to tell just how small this is. So next to it is a Mobula 6. But this one, of course, is kind of a typical quad frame. We got 40mm tri-bladed GEM props, Beta FPV 1102 13,500 kV motors. The all-in-one down here is the flywoo 13 amp F4 all-in-one board. The VTX is the Ishii Nano version 1. It's real tight in there, but that is an FrSky XM. It only has one antenna, which gets mounted right up front here. And the camera is the Runcam Nano 4. You can see it's all kind of dirty, and I'll show the clip where I did a whole bunch of crashing in a picture-in-picture when we get back to the desk after the other flights. There's obviously some 3D printed pieces on here. We've got some feet, we've got this mount for our antenna, and we've got the tail section here, but the camera mount looks to be metal. Bottom carbon fiber plate is 2mm thick. And the top plate is 2mm thick too. It weighs just under 42 grams. I flew it on this G&B 350 milliamp 2S battery, which brings the weight up to 62.5 grams. It also comes with this mount for the Insta360 Go, and with the 360 Go, it weighs over 83 grams. All right, we're about to take off. Notice the pine tree out front. It's blowing around. It's another 12 to 15 mile an hour wind day. I actually forgot to holler out the date. That's what I usually do to keep track of the date and the time, is when I sit down, the audio camera that I record flight footage with, the audio side of things that I edit in here later when we're watching the DVR, as I usually just say the date and time. That way, when I pull out whatever flight and I match it up to the audio recording, then I hear myself say the date and time, and then I can go online and I can look at the weather. Forgot to do that this particular day. Well, it happens, you know. But I'm showing you this because, well, it was one of the flights I didn't crash a bunch, because I really, when I have something this size and this nimble, I envision myself flying around like, you know those bugs? They look like spiders, and you oftentimes find them in lakes or coves or, you know, still water areas, and they kind of skitter around on top of the water, and it looks like a spider that should just sink into the water, at least not do what they are doing. You know, very agile, very nimble, and that's kind of the feeling that you get from this. And that was something I continually had in my head every flight, was whatever those little bugs are called. It's been a long time. I used to be a little bit of an outdoor kid, but as I've gotten older, you know, I don't really hunt or fish, and so some of that knowledge I may have had 30 years ago, it's gone. But these are lots of fun. I also should have noted during the specs that this is a GnB 27 build, so the batteries are GnB 7 converts. There aren't any 2S batteries that come with the GnB 27 to my knowledge. I think, unless you buy like, no, I don't think I've seen any 2S batteries with the GnB 27 on them yet. I don't think we've seen that yet. But we've got the kind of a new board to me in there, that all-in-one board that's a 16 by 16 flight stack. And then we've got the Beta FPV motors. Of course, we've got motor shafts, 1.5mm motor shafts, and that's important. You could take your Mobula, your Whoop stuff, or let me look at the motor hole pattern here. It looks like you could do multiple motor hole patterns, but check Gnarly's website to make sure before you go out and you buy. I wouldn't suggest using any motors with 1mm shafts. I would definitely want a 1.5mm motor shaft, just because, you know, your exposed props, especially if you're flying the GEM props. I started out with the HQ props on this, and the first crash, I broke 2 of the blades. 2 separate props, I broke 2 blades. So I was like, okay, well, that didn't work out so well. Let's go back to the GEM fans. Next up, I've also got some flight footage of me carrying the Insta360 Go, which, if you're interested in, it surprisingly does it for over 2 minutes. I really did not expect to get more than about a minute carrying essentially 40% more weight. You know, micros are pretty sensitive to that weight. And as far as the tune on this, it's not tuned at all. Sure, could it be tightened up? You bet. But I thought it was fun. It was controllable. It flew well. You're going to see some chop. You've probably already seen some chop or some prop wash. You see me do some things. It's just bad form. At one point in time, I pop up over in the swing set, and I'm actually going kind of flat down and backwards, which is really bad form for prop wash. But beta flight defaults, no tuning involved there. Okay, let's get on with the Insta360 Go. So I need to start off with a mistake. I went back and watched this footage before I started the narration recording here, and it does it for 3 minutes. So this is a 3-minute flight, same battery, 350 milliamp 2S battery. It's now got an additional 20 plus grams on it with the Insta360 Go and the mount. And I am using the FPV stabilization on this. Insta360 Go seems to have a replacement camera that should have some really nice specs. This was a nice camera, don't get it wrong. but it seems like if the leak spec that somebody swiped off their website is accurate, that they're going to be increasing the frame rate, the recording time, as well as the resolution. And those are all good things for us micros. I will probably be going out and getting one of those on launch day, if those specs are true. No, they didn't send me one. This channel is far too small to have that sort of reach. I'm sure some channels might have it, but I think that's going to be a nice camera for micros to get in some higher frame rate, higher resolution footage on micros. Hopefully it comes in at a reasonable price. I hope it's not like $400 or I'll have to eat my words and not go buy one. But I wanted to show you this. You know, it comes with a mount. You can fly around doing the cruisy sort of get your shot sort of flight for 3 minutes in this little tiny package. This is one of those packages where I think also if you're flying in a park, like say you don't have a backyard, you live in an apartment, or it's just too tight to fly around your house. You know, we used to live in a house built in the 30s where the distance between houses was only a car length or car width. So not everybody has a big yard like ours. You know, we bought this house because it had a big yard. That was something that I wanted. But this is something you can fly very, very discreetly. You can't really hear it when it gets very far away from you as the pilot or the person flying. And certainly if somebody were to be giving you the business and you pulled up and showed them a thing that's the size of a deck of cards, they're certainly not going to be too mad at you anymore. You know, it's just not the menacing thing they thought it was. Hopefully I'm not telling tales out of school. It's just hard for me to imagine people getting upset when I show them stuff like this. When I go up to the school and I show the teachers some of the stuff, of course, you know, I'm bringing stuff with me, and maybe I'm just not flying in the right places outside of my familiar spaces. But if you need to fly discreetly and what you hear in the audio recording suits what you're looking for, then you might want to consider building one of these up. We will go through the frame kit back at the desk. You cannot buy these built. If you need one built, I would definitely consider making contact with Adam Douglas and also Connor. Connor, now that I start to say your name, I'm a little bit embarrassed to say, is it Sky Lion or Sky Leon? But Connor does builds as well. It's a build service, so expect to pay for that service. Don't get it twisted. These people, their time has value too. So if you don't want to take on the build, you got to pay for it to be done. But I'll have their Facebook pages linked down below. So there's our 3 minute of flight footage there. I kind of don't want to open the package because it's sealed, but I think I kind of have to show you what you get, even though Gnarly's website does a great job of putting everything out there. I tell you what, I will give this frame away. I'll throw it in an envelope and I'll send it your way. US, well, internationally, this, as long as the shipping, I'll ship it internationally, as long as the shipping for an envelope and however many grams this comes out to isn't over $10. Okay, I'll send it to anyone if it doesn't cost me more than $10. Is that too low? I might be rethinking that after I've done recording the video. But let's take a look at the kit here. So if you want to get involved in the giveaway, I'll put a form down below. It'll just probably ask you for your friendly name as well as your email address, and I will randomly pick someone after a few days to win this frame. Of course, it has been opened. Obviously, I'm opening the one right here on camera. So let's see. Oh, nice vacuum sealed screws of various sizes. I should note that there's some touches on here that I like, especially with this top plate. I do wish this foam was rubberized rather than foam, but oops, the battery's stuck really well. I didn't have a problem with it. And also this print over here, this was something that I noticed. You'll see on, hopefully you can see on mine, how I nicked that. That's my fault. I tried to run this with the battery lead out the back and then pushing the wires kind of like this. And that did not work out, obviously. I had a successful flight, but at some point in the flight, it was nicking those wires. So what you should do, or what I ended up doing most of the time, was I had my battery in here like this. And then with this little piece, my fingers are getting in the way. Let me grab something to point with here. Hopefully you can see it. This print comes up a little bit. It kind of captures the battery lead wires. So it'll keep it out of harm's way because that... You can see that goes above the prop line. See that print up there? It goes above the prop line. So as long as we're keeping it up, then it won't get in your way. You can see there. Hopefully I'm showing that enough where you can see that. So that's how you should run your battery, is have the lead come out over this way. Of course, you could have your lead come all the way out and have it a longer lead. Of course, that's going to add a little bit of weight. Not terrible, but the screws are recessed and they're hex screws. Again, this front piece is metal. They're recessed here as well. I've mentioned the recessed screws because that's a little touch we don't often see on commercially built frames. This one's recessed as well. And then, of course, here's our motor mounting pattern. As I look at it, I think that should take the Happy Model motors as well. But check out gnarlyfpv.com. I'll also have a link down below to his website. It's going to be pretty tight to get a receiver in there. So, you know, whatever receiver you choose is going to need to be really small. One that I have gotten a few of here recently. Oh, what did I do with those? Oh, dang it. So I picked up 3 or 4 of these Radio Master. I think these are R81s. Yeah, R81s. Now, these are 8-channel, so you still need to be able to do D8 mode on these. So it doesn't necessarily allow you to do D16 on ACC-ST or anything like that. So it's not a complete way out of FrSky. But these things are only $8. And the little squirrel's kind of a funny little guy. Let's get one out so I can show it to you here. I've got it into another quad. Unfortunately, that quad took some damage, so I have some repairs on that quad that I need to do. That was a custom build quad that took some damage. Because I think this one would be a viable alternative just because of its size if you have a radio. Yeah, if you have a radio that can do it. Of course, it's only got the one mount for an antenna, which is nice and clean, but you could kind of coil this up and then run another one, you know, down this way, and that would work as well. I think I don't have anything within arm's reach. Oh yeah, I do. Here we go. Or you could do something like this with your antennas as well. It doesn't make it as clean as what Gnarly's got here, but this would be a viable receiver for $8 on this particular build if you can do D8 mode on these. I'm pretty certain. I'll check this and I'll put on screen whether it's actually D8 mode or if I'm just getting confused, because I've been testing out a couple of different receivers here recently. Okay, back to the frame. I got sidetracked there. We've got our 3D printed, our camera mounts here, our metal camera mounts. We've got our foam pad here, our top plate. Then we've got our bottom plate. I didn't note it previously, but it is chamfered. Look at that, some nice chamfering going on. Obviously, this is your bottom side. This is your top side. See how it's flat up here where the screw holes is and how it's kind of cut out so that those screws can be recessed. And then we've got our 3D printed pieces, which that white part is obviously the mount like here. And then we've got the feet right here. We've got a few of those. Oh, and this is our tail section with that little cupping right here, so that it grabs your battery lead, and then that goes that's your VTX antenna right through there. And then this is for holding this tube, sorry. This little piece right here holds the tube. It's out of shot, holds that tube so you have your antenna mounting. Now I'm curious, did I miss it? I don't see where we get, there is a little piece of antenna tube in here. So it looks like you're going to need to have that if you want to mount it just like this, because I don't see that we get any of that in the kit. Of course, you don't need much. Yeah, I'm just not seeing it. So you don't get the antenna tube that comes through here or that cap. You might have some of this. If you buy, if you look for RC antenna tube, you can find packages of this stuff all over the place. You can find it in various colors if you wanted to add some colors to yours. But so it doesn't look like that's the one part in what I've got here that you don't get. Also, I don't see a battery strap. So you need to come up with a battery strap as well. I'm sure Gnarly has got them on his website. You can just buy one when you're over there taking a look at the frame. Hopefully you've been watching that flight footage of me just kind of crashing and thrashing it about. One of the things that I did during that flight, I think that flight was over 4 minutes long, was I used turtle mode. Of course, with this having a battery on top when you're upside down, turtle mode is a little less risky because you do have that elevation. Right now, Our grass is very, very short because it's dormant. You know, it's still coming out of its winter dormancy. So I was pretty confident that it would work out just fine. But I wanted to show you that flight because it was just fun. Just going out and, you know, throwing it around. Whatever happens, happens. And having a good time. That's kind of how I see these. They're super small. So I don't think you can take them too seriously. And at least that's where I'm at with something this small for outdoor purposes, is that, you know, it's made of carbon, so your components are relatively safe and secure, provided, you know, you don't do something serious. Like I did disarm once on accident, and that resulted in a little bump on top of the shed, then it tumbled down to the ground. But outside of doing something silly like that, you know, it's all protected. If you don't do turtle mode real heavy, you shouldn't pop your ESC unless you've got an ESC on the verge of dying anyways. You know, quads, they're kind of expendable. You know, we buy them and we crash them, and then when something dies, we buy another one and we replace that part with what we've bought and we fix it and go on. But yeah, a lot of fun. Let me take a look at the price here so you have an idea before you go of what the frame kit is going to run you. It is on pre-order, so you will have to, and that's not terribly uncommon. You know, if he gets 10 orders or 2,000 orders, then he'll know what he needs to do to make that demand. So pre-order, and it's $21.95. So it's not a cheap frame, and I think from what I've shown you with the carbon, let's do a little carbon test here to finish up. It's 2 millimeters. It can't be all that rigid. Oh, camera focus. Can't really hold it in my hand. Let's do it on the one that's built up. Maybe I can hold it in my hand better. It's so small. So yeah, it flexes. No, here's a good look at the carbon. I'm not someone that likes to talk about the top weave. A lot of people have somehow determined that top weave indicates a quality of carbon. I'm not one of those people. I've talked to other people that know carbon that don't work in the quad industry, and they're like, nah, that's just wallpaper for carbon. It could be pink and running any old which way. It doesn't matter. That's just what we put on it so you don't get shards in your hands and whatnot. Anywho, here we go. GnarlyFPV SubAtomic. Link in the video description. Of course, if you need to build one, you'll have to acquire parts as well. And if you would like one, but you don't build, I have links to 2 people who will build you one. Of course, always ask them about the price for their services, because from build to build, the price might be different because some are a pain in the backside to work on. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the section down below. I appreciate your time. And thanks for watching.